Hi, Steve here. Can you handle the truth?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Are you sure? Because what I'm going to talk about today is something you've probably never heard before. Ever. Apparently, the great scholars of the past didn't think you could. Have you ever wondered why the book of Enoch was not included in all the other Holy Scriptures? No, it's not because it wasn't true. It's because they feared that it would reveal too much and maybe we couldn't handle it. Were they right? Jesus talked about the Great Tribulation in Matthew chapter 24. He said, "It will be the worst time of suffering since the beginning of the world, and nothing this horrifying will ever happen again." He said, if God didn't make the time shorter, no one would be left alive. But because of God's chosen ones, He will make the time shorter. How bad could it be, and what's going to happen that would cause Jesus to tell us this? I believe we can find the answer in the book of Enoch. The book they did not include in Holy Scriptures, and yet the Apostle Paul and the Apostle Jude, they mention Enoch. Enoch was actually Cain's son. That's right, the brother of Abel, who he killed. Enoch is mentioned in Genesis, 1 Chronicles, Luke, Hebrews, and Jude. So I think it's very clear that Enoch played a huge role in Bible history. But it's what Enoch wrote that's never been taught or really revealed to the church. Why? Jesus said in John 8:31 and 32 to the Jews who believed Him, "If you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." I believe that. I believe it wholeheartedly. Even when it hurts, it's more freeing to know the truth than to believe the lies. Ironically, the book of Enoch does not contradict any of the other Holy Scriptures in any way. So why wasn't it included in the Bible? I believe it wasn't included because what Enoch reveals was much too frightening to those who can't handle the truth. Genesis 5:24 says, "And Enoch walked with God, and he was no longer, for God had taken him." Just like the prophet Elijah, he was taken up to heaven and didn't die. Jesus said in Matthew 24:37 through 39, "But as the days of Noah were, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So also the coming of the Son of Man will be." The book starts out talking about the second coming of Jesus Christ in judgment. He talks about the heavens and the earth. He talks about the seasons. He talks about how nature is obedient, but angels and mankind are not always. In verse 6 of the book of Enoch, he describes in much more detail than 1 John and Genesis how angels took human wives. But the book of Enoch goes into great detail how all this came about and proves the other scriptures to be true. The book of Enoch is almost word for word what it says in Genesis chapter 6, relating to how angels took human wives. He said, "And the angels chose human wives for the specific purpose to satisfy their lust and to procreate with humans." Here's how Enoch describes it. "And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied in those days, were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters, and the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and get us children. And Simjosah, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear you will not agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him, and they said, let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then they all swore together, and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200, who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they have sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders. And he lists all 19 names and says in verse 8, these are their chiefs of tens. So you can see here there's a definite hierarchy over all these angels, and we can safely assume that it was Lucifer over all of them. So they swore this agreement, this pact, to do this. And then he goes into chapter 7. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, And they began to go in unto them and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants, and they became pregnant, and they bared great giants whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind, and they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. Are you beginning to see why the book of Enoch may not have been included in the rest of the scriptures? Enoch also goes into detail where man got certain skills and certain knowledge. He talks about the way angels, these fallen angels, taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working with them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And where did the angels learn this from? Look at the description about what Lucifer's appearance looked like. And they didn't make bracelets and ornaments for them to make them look prettier. They were probably made as part of their ceremonial practices, probably part of their witchcraft. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Now these angels are all listed by name, but I'm not going to give them the attention. But here's what Enoch said about what the fallen angels taught mankind. The lead angel taught enchantments and root cuttings. Another, the resolving of enchantments. Another taught astrology. Another, the constellations. Another one taught the knowledge of the clouds. Another, all the signs of the earth. And another, all the signs of the sun. And another, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. I find it very interesting that all of these things that the fallen angels taught mankind are still used in the occult and the satanic rituals and practices. So the foundation started back when angels cohabited with humans. Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. This world is going to be horrifying. Do you know Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior? There is no hope in anyone else or anything else or any place else other than the Son of the living God, who gave himself that he might deliver us from the fate of the rest of the world. Think about it. Are you reading the headlines? International threats, war in Israel, corruption here at home. When will it end? The trouble is, it might end in disaster. And when the future is unstable, access to food can be limited. You have to secure your own supply. Thanks to My Patriot Supply, you can. My Patriot Supply is the largest preparedness company in the country, and they're dropping the price of their top-selling 3-month emergency food kit. Get a delicious variety of breakfast, lunches, dinners, and more for $200 off. These meals offer 2,000 calories every day. To prepare them, just add water and heat. They buy in bulk, then they pass the savings on to you. Visit preparewiththinkaboutit.com and save $200 on your food security. It's better than any kind of insurance you possibly have. Order by 3 p.m. for free, same-day shipping. Preparewiththinkaboutit.com.